justify the moronic comparison, but I didn't compare. I think you guys are ignoring that. I didn't compare supporting Kingsman to supporting Israel. I didn't, I guess it does sound like I said that, but honestly, I didn't mean to make it come off like that. I just didn't like the, oh, I support Zaza, I support Kingsman. I didn't like the picking sides. I thought it was silly.
Luciyana's got herself tangled in a mess that keeps getting uglier by the day. Every time a new clip drops, the situation blows up even more. It all kicked off when she decided to call out another creator, Anti-Grow, saying he was some kind of supporter of Charlie Kirk. She didn't just question him, she went all in, painting him like some dangerous political figure, which is wild in a space where emotions already run high. She's got that loud, confrontational energy online, always ready to start something. But this kind of accusation doesn't just stay small, it spreads like a storm. The moment people hear it, they start changing how they treat you, no matter if it's true or not. Luciyana grabbed one casual comment about political violence and turned it into this overblown storyline, making him look like some raging partisan just to get the crowd talking.
The situation I want to briefly go over. Luciyasa was making a lot of claims about me to her viewers, saying that I had said things about the Charlie Kirk incident and posted videos and stuff like that. Basically things that I just had never said. She was telling her viewers that she no longer wanted to associate with me on Backlash. Show you the entirety of all DMs to Luciyasa and from Luciyasa.
Then she started telling folks he had posted pray for Charlie Kirk, like he was waving some political flag. But when Anti-Grow checked his actual post, it turned out he never said that at all. The real message was simply that celebrating someone's assassination is wrong. Nothing political, no hidden agenda, just a basic moral stance saying people shouldn't be cheering over death. That's a normal human opinion, not a secret political allegiance. Yet somehow that got spun into him being an extremist. Imagine being dragged for saying don't harm people. That's how ridiculous this got. Instead of realizing she exaggerated and stepping back, Luciyana went even harder, like she had something to prove. On the internet, admitting fault is treated like weakness, so people double down instead. Anti-Grow had to make a whole video just to clear his name because his comment sections were blowing up with false accusations. He had to defend himself over something that never even happened, just because Luciyana couldn't let it go. Total chaos. Out of nowhere, Lusa slides into his DMs with this calm, peacemaking tone. Hey, I don't want any bad blood. Let's talk privately, human to human. Suddenly, it's all about maturity and grown energy. Except it wasn't. The moment he started laying out his side of the story, she went radio silent. No reply, no follow-up, no my bad. Just pure silence. She basically tricked him into thinking there'd be a real, honest talk, only to ghost him the second accountability showed up. That so-called human-to-human moment faded faster than a lagging livestream on bad Wi-Fi. At that point, it didn't feel like a misunderstanding. It felt like a setup, a move made to create confusion while keeping control of how everything looked from the outside. It's wild because it's clear now she didn't reach out to fix anything. She reached out to frame it. She wanted those screenshots floating around, looking calm and reasonable, like she was being the bigger person. But the second the real talk started, gone, vanished. It wasn't about finding peace, it was about protecting her image. The second accountability stepped into the chat, she disappeared like it was all staged. And just when you think it couldn't get weirder, she accused him of making response videos just to chase TikTok money. Like defending yourself from lies is some kind of business plan. Seriously, who wakes up thinking, you know what would grow my platform today? Getting falsely labeled, dragged all over social media, and spending days trying to fix it.
So as you can see, I was literally just never responded to. To this day, I've still never been responded to. So this is what preceded the threats from.
That's not content strategy, that's survival mode. Nobody signs up for that kind of stress for a couple of extra views or some spare change. Then he drops a twist that flips the entire situation. Turns out he was actually invited to that tournament everyone kept bringing up. He wasn't left out, wasn't banned, and definitely wasn't scared. He turned it down himself, by choice. The narrative she built around him crumbled right there, and it showed exactly who was really trying to control. He turned down that invite because he already knew the room would be full of people he'd had problems with before, and he didn't want that mess spilling into real life. That alone says a lot. Someone walking away from a big opportunity just to avoid chaos isn't chasing clout. They're protecting their peace. That's not weakness. That's emotional intelligence in action. Then Cece enters the picture. She's supposed to be the calm one, the Discord server runner, the person you'd expect to step in with mediator vibes, asking who said what and keeping things fair. But instead, she flips the whole situation. Suddenly, he's being painted as the issue just because his response videos reached a wider audience than the original accusations. Like, since when does having more reach automatically make you the bad guy? That logic is completely upside down. Let's get it straight. Luciyasa made a public accusation. People attacked him online because of it. He replied publicly with receipts, screenshots, and proof. Yet somehow his defense gets labeled as harassment? That's not how any of this works. Responding to lies with facts isn't bullying, it's digital self-defense. And this wasn't just some random argument to him. He talked about how hard he worked to get where he is. He started streaming to literally 0 viewers, just grinding day after day, until he built up to 50 regulars. For small creators, that's a huge milestone. That's dedication, not drama. He finally gets accepted into a group that could have boosted his visibility, and almost immediately, he's pressured to stay quiet or risk being frozen out. That's not support. That's manipulation dressed up as community. And when you look at how closely Cece and Luciyasa have been linked since the whole Kingsman drama, it stops feeling like coincidence. It feels like coordination, like they're running the same playbook behind the scenes while pretending to be neutral. See the pattern yet? It always plays out the same way. The main instigator throws the first hit, her crew jumps in to back her up, and before you know it, they've flipped the whole script. Suddenly he's the villain while they're over there, acting calm and composed, pretending to be the mature peacemakers. But then comes the twist. He gets a warning. If he keeps posting videos explaining his side, it might get labeled as harassment, and he could even get kicked from the server. So the person who was publicly misrepresented is now being threatened just for defending himself. That's not mediation, that's straight up silencing. It's like they're telling him, sit down, stay quiet, and let the false story spread so nobody gets uncomfortable.
I'm taking accountability for what I did in the tournament, and really, truthfully, I don't think it's my fault though, because we're the victims here. We were attacked by Kingsman because Zaza wouldn't switch off of Widow, but she was doing fine. She was being targeted by Venom and Spider-Man the whole time. And even though Kingsman was 15-0 and Zaza was 0-5.
That's not peace. That's control dressed up as harmony. Peace without honesty isn't peace at all. It's pressure disguised as calm. And it didn't just fade away after a few days. According to him, the situation dragged on for months. He tried to keep quiet, hoping the drama would burn out. But during that silence, he says he missed out on opportunities, collaborations, and invites, all because that false label stuck to his name. That's the real damage. When someone with a bigger platform paints you a certain way, it doesn't matter what's true. People take the headline and run. Most folks don't scroll for proof or dig into context. They hear one claim and move on, leaving your name attached to something false. Reputation spreads faster than facts online, and once that label's attached, it follows you everywhere. Fast forward to January 2026, after months of back and forths, screenshots, explanations, and receipts, you'd think maybe it all cooled down. Maybe both sides had finally moved on. But nope. Out of nowhere, a resurfaced VOD from January 22nd pops up, and there's Luciyasa again, still calling him a Charlie Kirk sympathizer, repeating that same tired narrative like none of the evidence ever mattered. And here's the kicker. The timing couldn't be more telling. That stream went live just one day after he posted a detailed video breaking down everything. The DMs, the accusations, the server warnings, all of it. Instead of acknowledging the truth or correcting her claims, she doubled down again. Then, like clockwork, the VOD vanished, deleted, gone without explanation. It's so predictable at this point, it's almost routine. Whenever the receipts start catching up, the evidence disappears, and the cycle resets. Same moves, different day. Say something wild, get called out, delete the clip, and pray the noise dies down. Classic move. But this is the internet. Nothing ever really disappears. Someone's always recording, always clipping, always archiving. There's literally a folder somewhere titled Receipts, waiting for the perfect moment to resurface. And sure enough, that deleted VOD popped right back up on another site. People started re-watching, conversations reignited, and then suddenly, that second site went down too. Now when you click it, all you get is a 404 page, like it never existed in the first place. But content vanishing like that doesn't calm people down. It makes them suspicious. When things start disappearing layer by layer right after being questioned, it doesn't look like cleanup, it looks like control. And the second people sense that something's being managed behind the scenes, the suspicion grows louder than the original clip ever did. While that chaos was still brewing, another controversy bubbled back up from the past. People started revisiting that moment when Sia compared supporting Kingsman to supporting Israel, and even her own viewers were stunned. The chat reaction said it all. People were confused, uncomfortable, and questioning what they just heard. The comparison came off extreme and totally disconnected from the situation. When your own audience stops midstream and goes, "Wait, what?" That's when you know something went completely sideways. Instead of taking a second to explain herself or acknowledge why that comment hit so hard, she pivoted. She switched topics and started talking about how much money she donated to Palestine, almost like she was keeping score. But donations aren't debate armor. Giving money to a cause doesn't erase criticism or automatically make every opinion bulletproof.
It was just like in bad taste. But at the end of the day, you're like, guys, I am a Lebanese Arab. Like, I have 100% donated more. I even had, what do you call it? Not that this is an excuse, but I'm saying I have definitely donated more than all of you guys combined to Palestinians. I literally have family there. I don't know really what, yeah. Anyways, regardless, let me see if there's anything else. Did he reach out to you?
It felt less like taking responsibility and more like a flashy deflection. She didn't clarify the comparison or admit it landed wrong. She shifted the entire focus into a morality contest. And that's the repeating pattern people keep pointing out. A big, bold accusation drops in public, barely any follow-up happens in private, and then shock when it all spirals out of control. But here's the thing, if you're going to call someone out in a serious way, you need solid proof, real receipts, clear context. You can't just build a case off chat reactions, vague assumptions, and emotional hype. Because when the other person pushes back with actual evidence, acting confused doesn't help your case. That's exactly why smaller creators hesitate to speak up when this stuff happens. They see what happens when someone tries to defend themselves. They either stay quiet and let the narrative swallow them whole, or they fight back and risk being labeled as the troublemaker. It's a lose-lose situation where silence feels safer than truth, and that's what keeps this messy cycle spinning. That kind of pressure hits different when the platforms aren't the same size. When everything blew up, the first wave of backlash crashed straight into Cece. She was already a bigger name at that point, especially around the rival scene and Zoss stacks, so the spotlight burned brighter on her. People hadn't forgotten her messy public history either, like that infamous Widow match where she went 0-5 with 200 ping, refused to swap off, and then argued about it live. Moments like that stick, and they already shaped how folks viewed her, so when drama hit again, the criticism piled up instantly. Meanwhile, Luciyasa skated past most of the fire since she was the smaller streamer in the mix, but if you actually lay out the screenshots and the timeline, her actions hit harder than people realize. Turning on someone mid-tournament and then publicly mocking them after? That's not just bad timing, that looks deliberate. It gives off premeditated energy, not random chaos. And when you connect all the dots, the earlier accusations, the vanishing clips, the narrative flipping, it starts painting a picture that's way too calculated to ignore. Before the tournament even started, Luciyasa and Kingsman were tight, not just casual teammates, but close. They ran ranked together, streamed together, joked around like a duo, full bestie energy. Then suddenly, right in the middle of competition, she flipped the script completely. Out of nowhere, she ditched Kingsman and sided with a group of girls she barely knew. It looked too sharp, too quick, not emotional, but tactical. The audience caught on instantly. Chat was buzzing, people were side-eyeing the switch-up, and social media lit up with speculation. It didn't read as organic, it read as strategic. The whole thing looked shady because of the timing. One moment it was loyalty, trust, and teamwork, and the next, it turned into cold distance and public shade. That kind of switch-up during a live tournament where reputations and real money are on the line? Yeah, that's going to raise eyebrows fast. And then came the cherry on top. Luciyasa goes live again with her stream set to sub-only mode titled, "I Need This. I'm kind of homeless." That move didn't just get noticed, it exploded across the community. The optics were loud, people were torn between sympathy and suspicion. Was it genuine or a distraction from the chaos she helped spark? Either way, it had everyone talking again, and that's exactly the kind of noise she seems to thrive in.
Do it at wrong times, I do admit, but in regards to me telling him to shut the fuck up, that is the only thing I think I am 100% justified in.
It didn't come off as a genuine, vulnerable stream. It looked like drama turned into a business move. When someone locks chat behind subscriptions in the middle of controversy, people notice. The audience starts asking, is this about getting support or cashing in on the chaos? That's exactly what folks were thinking. Instead of calm reflection, it looked like she was trying to monetize the mess. And then came the moment that blew the roof off everything. Luciyasa made a wild comparison that tied a Twitch tournament situation to a real-world geopolitical conflict. The chat froze, like nobody even knew how to respond at first. It was one of those moments where you could feel the disbelief through the screen. Viewers immediately started calling her out for how extreme and disconnected that analogy was. I mean, comparing a college kid grinding to win a $40,000 gaming tournament to global war issues, that's not just dramatic, it's tone-deaf and completely mismatched in scale. The stakes aren't even in the same universe. The internet can be brutal sometimes, but this time the criticism wasn't about hate, it was about logic. People were dragging the take because it made no sense. It felt careless, and even fans who used to back her couldn't defend it. Instead of taking a breath and saying, yeah, that one went too far, she pulled her classic move. She pivoted. She claimed everyone was just biased, that people were automatically siding against her with no real reason. Then she tried to spin it as if it was just a big metaphor about supporting one player over another, not an actual political statement. But that explanation didn't land. It didn't fix anything. It only made the confusion worse. Because once you throw out a comparison that heavy, you can't just soften it later and hope everyone forgets. Words like that stick, and people remember. Then things got even messier when old messages began to resurface. Former friends, past gaming buddies, even Kitty Ken came forward saying they had been warned about Luciana's behavior long before this tournament drama ever started. When people from your past start echoing the same red flags, it stops feeling like random bad luck. It starts looking like a pattern. At that point, it wasn't just about one bad take or one messy stream, it was about a trail of drama following her wherever she went. The receipts weren't just stacking, they were forming a story that people couldn't ignore anymore.
I'd support Kingsman like it's supporting Israel. It was like, I was saying the thing of like support, not specifically you supporting Kingsman is supporting Israel. It was the statement of support Kingsman or support Zaza. It's just, I thought saying like supporting this is just like.
People were already talking behind the scenes. Something about the way she and her crew kept defending Zaza just didn't make sense. In a high-stakes tournament, if a teammate's clearly struggling, suggesting a switch or new strategy isn't bullying, it's smart play. When money and rankings are on the line, performance matters. But instead of facing the gameplay issue, she acted like protecting Zaza's feelings was more important than fixing the team's problems. While they kept losing rounds, that attitude looked out of touch. You can't patch a sinking ship by pretending the hole doesn't exist. Later, when she tried to smooth it over, the apology fell flat. It dodged the real issue. The whole conversation was about performance and teamwork, yet they kept twisting it into something personal. Everyone watching saw what was happening. Zaza was struggling. The scoreboard made that obvious. Instead of addressing it straight, they wrapped it in soft talk and excuses that didn't match what viewers were seeing. And that's when the narrative started spreading, that Kingsman wasn't getting full support because he was the only guy on the team. The optics were rough. It ended up looking like they'd rather risk losing thousands than have an awkward conversation. But competition isn't about comfort, it's about results. If someone can't handle being told to adapt for the team, maybe that level of play just isn't the right lane. And that's not cruelty, that's reality. That's just basic standards. When she tried to frame it like she was taking responsibility, it came off shallow. She asked if Kingsman was okay, but in the same breath, reminded him she'd told him to stay quiet earlier. That's not supportive energy at all. When he said he didn't think he'd done anything wrong and planned to post his side, she argued it wasn't fair to call himself innocent just because she heard him getting upset. The logic jumped everywhere, and the accountability never stuck. When she finally apologized, it sounded more like PR than remorse. She said she was sorry he got kicked, not sorry for her role in how it all escalated. That's a big difference. It felt like she was sorry about how it looked, not about the actions that caused it. She never really connected herself to the chain of events that blew everything up. Right after that apology, she switched into emotional mode, talking about how happy she'd been to be on the same team, how much it meant to her. Maybe true, but it sounded like a soft reset, not accountability. A sprinkle of regret, then a quick pivot to feeling so the focus moves away from what actually went wrong. If she'd been transparent from the start, maybe people would have seen her differently. But instead, it felt like image management, keeping her ego safe while avoiding the words everyone needed to hear. I made the wrong call. And the kicker? There's still an old clip floating around where she sounds totally fine with how it all ended. She tried to sound neutral, breaking everything down like she was viewing it through the host's lens. Calm tone, detached logic, but the delivery came off cold. In that clip, she pointed out how Bassam, the tournament organizer, had big names like Moxie and Mark Desi on board, implying that when major players are involved, the host prioritizes keeping the energy smooth.
Like, seriously, answer this. Even if you support Kingsman, whatever, support Kingsman like it's fucking Israel. Anyways, whatever you have in your head, I have a genuine question. Ready? I'm saying
anyone seen as pushy or argumentative could be swapped out fast to avoid tension. She used that to justify why Kingsman got dropped, saying his push for Zaza to switch characters made him look difficult. But when you actually watch the footage, that version of events doesn't hold up. Kingsman wasn't yelling or disrespectful. He was giving a competitive suggestion because Zaza was clearly struggling. That's not harassment, that's strategy. In serious tournaments, communication like that is normal. Even more, Zaza had said herself she could flex to other characters, so his request wasn't random. It was based on her own claim. Calling that toxic is a stretch. Once viewers compared her framing to the real clips, the disconnect was obvious. He stayed calm, tried to keep it professional, and just wanted the team to perform better. Then came the contradiction. Right after the tournament, she publicly agreed with the organizers' call to kick him, saying it was the right decision. No hesitation, no regret. But later, when Backlash grew, her story flipped. Suddenly, she claimed she never wanted him removed and would have defended him if she'd known the full situation. That switch hit hard. One moment she's backing the decision completely, the next she's rewriting her stance like it was out of her hands. Once people saw both clips side by side, it became impossible to ignore how much the story had shifted. When the backlash hit, she suddenly tried to paint herself as if she'd been quietly loyal the whole time, but the timelines don't match. Once criticism started building, the tone softened, apologies appeared, and the message shifted from "it made sense" to "I wasn't responsible." That back and forth left people comparing timestamps instead of trusting her words. Later in the same VOD, she switched lanes again, this time blaming Bassam, the tournament host, saying he made the wrong call by kicking Kingsman. First she agreed, then she didn't. The story kept shifting depending on the moment, and that inconsistency became impossible to ignore.
the things about Bassam out there that, hey, if you want to look into it. But there's other shit on Bassam out there. And Bassam, if you're in here, bro, you are the biggest sellout of all time. You kick Kingsman out, and then you don't even properly fucking clear shit up. And you scream and shout for the Kingsman fans to all just be on your side because you switch sides because you don't want hate. You don't want heat, which is fine. But it's just,
who the fuck wants hate?
What really stood out was Bassam himself. He's the only one who actually apologized. He admitted his mistakes, acknowledged that things could have been handled better, and owned his part like an adult. But how did she respond? By calling him the biggest loser ever. That's wild, especially when the man had already taken accountability. You can't preach grace while mocking the one person who stepped up. Bassam reacted calmly, no name-calling, no escalation. He simply said she should reflect on her own actions. The contrast between his steady tone and her defensive outbursts said everything. He owned his role while she kept rewriting hers, and that's exactly why people stopped buying the victim narrative. Meanwhile, the drama around her circle kept spiraling. Accusations, deleted clips, contradictions stacking up one after another. Some online voices are even pushing for serious consequences, not out of spite, but out of frustration. Viewers are tired of endless half apologies and blurred accountability. They don't want another spectacle. They just want consistency. Because this isn't about clout or cancel culture, it's about fairness. If you make a public claim, bring real proof. And if you mess up, admit it clearly. When that standard only applies to some people, the whole scene starts to rot from the inside. At this point, the hypocrisy is loud. The internet's dissecting every deleted VOD, every contradiction, every emotional pivot. It's ego clashing with guilt, live for everyone to see. People are fed up watching the same cycle. Chaos, denial, deflection, repeat. Screens may hide emotions, but screenshots don't fade. They tell the story you tried to bury. And here's what really hits. Kingsman, the one dragged through all this, just comes off like a regular gamer trying to grind and grow. Not perfect, but not messy either. The contrast between his calm and their chaos makes the whole thing feel even more unfair. So here's the real question. Do you think this was just typical tournament drama that spiraled out of control, or does it reveal a deeper pattern of dodging accountability? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you made it this far, and don't forget to subscribe and share this video with someone who's been keeping up with the story. This one's not over yet.